Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today is the very first Wednesday in August, and as many of you know, I belong to a group of demonstrators across the world who all make a video on the first Wednesday of the month, and we use either the same theme or the same stamp set, and this month happens to be Christmas. Now, it's not very Christmas-like here at all at the moment. It's sunny and green and the least looking Christmas time I've ever seen. But it won't be long before Christmas is with us. So I've decided to use two sets. I'm using the Merry Moose set, which is a carryover from last Christmas, and the new Framed for You set, which is one of the $1 Million stampers, Terry Gaines. When you sell $1 million worth of product for Stampin' Up, they let you design your own stamp set, and this is Terry's. And I am loving this little frame here. I can see that I'll use it a lot. And the other little elements, they're just perfect for putting pictures in the frame, for using as a background image. I'm really liking this. So thank you, Terry, for designing this. It's gorgeous. And I'm going to use both for my Christmas card. And when I was just playing with this set, this is how my Christmas card came about. I was just playing with the little frame, and I was making a picture inside, and all of a sudden I knew what I was going to make for my Christmas cards. So let me show you how I made these. I don't have a finished card to show you. I have lots of little elements that I've made, but I haven't actually made the whole card. But I'm going to use half a sheet of crumb cake, and I've scored it at 5.5 and cut it at 4 1/4 so that we get a fold that looks like this. And then let me show you what I've done next. The only other thing I've done to this is I've stamped a little greeting on there, and it's from the Merry Moose, just the happiest of holidays. And I'm going to put a background on here. So I'm going to get a little piece of paper that I can rest on. And because this is crumb cake, I'm going to stamp in crumb cake as well. If you don't have the same inks as your card colour, you can always use Versamark. Have I got one just up here? Yeah. If you use Versamark, it looks clear, but it will stamp and take on whatever tone or colour your card is. So it always looks like you've got the right colour of card and everything. But I'm going to use my crumb cake, and I'm using this tiny little leaf here because I thought it looked sort of a bit like a foresty leaf, which is what I'm going for. And you can either stamp full strength or you can stamp off. I'm going to just stamp full strength at the moment. And I'm just turning the stamp around. I'm not following a pattern or anything. And I'm not going to fill the whole of the card up because I'm going to put a picture across the front. And I just want a little background without having to do a lot of work. There, that's all I'm doing with that. So let's close that back up for a few minutes. And then while that dries, I'm going to make my little image like this. So I've got just a little piece of Whisper White, and I've got the frame from this set and soft suede ink. And I'm just going to stamp this up, ink this up I mean. And you don't have to be very precise because we're going to cut it out. So literally, I'm just going to stamp it on here, hold it for a few seconds, and that's it. And let's close this up because I don't need that one. Okay. Now, I've got myself just some washi tape because let's move that one out of the way. Because what I want to do is stamp inside here, but I don't want to go over the edges of the frame. So I'm just going to tear off a few pieces of washi tape. I'm going to stick it on my hand because this tape is quite sticky and I don't want it to be too sticky. I don't want it to tear the paper when I take it off. And I'm going to put it up just onto the very inside edge of this frame. Just so that when I'm stamping, I don't go over the frame, and equally I don't end up with a little white border all the way inside. If you don't have washi tape, you could use a post-it note. That would work too. Excuse me. Whenever I'm videoing, I always seem to end up with a tickly throat. So I don't cough all morning and then I start to video and all of a sudden I end up with a tickle. Okay, so there's our frame all masked off, ready to stamp on. And before I start to stamp, I'm going to make a little background scene. I've got my little sponge daubers. You could use blends, you could use ink and an aqua painter. I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm literally just putting a little bit of ink onto my sponge dauber and I'm rubbing a lot of it off over here. This is Balmy Blue, which looks like it's quite dark, but I've taken most of the ink off and I'm just going to, I'm not even making a pattern or anything. I'm literally just going over so that it looks a bit sky-like, and that's it. As I said, there's nothing fancy about that. And then I'm going to use the crumb cake that we already had out and get my little dauber again, pop a little bit of ink on, rub it off. Normally when I'm sponge daubing, I'll do little tiny circles to start with just to fill in the space, but when it's for such a quick little picture, you don't even need to do that. Go over it as many times as you want to make it look darker. I'm not doing a straight sort of a horizontal line, I'm just making it a little bit bumpy. And my trees are just going to live on there, so it doesn't have to be too fancy at all. Okay, so now I've got Old Olive out, and that's because I'm using some paper that has Old Olive in it. I've chosen the Poinsettia paper out of the Christmas catalogue, which is one of the new catalogues and one of the new papers, and it's really very pretty. And I wanted this one because it looks a bit sort of, you know, foresty or wood-like, and I thought it would go nicely with my little moose. So, oh, where did I put that piece? There we go. So the paper itself says on the back that the green colours are garden green and Old Olive. So I've chosen Old Olive, knowing that it will match and that it will be the same green. I've got my tree from the Merry Moose. It's just a little single tree, and all I'm going to do is just put some ink on, and because I've got this masked off here, I'm not too worried about where my stamp is going to go. I'm just going to stamp once, and then I'm going to stamp again so that I've got a lighter tree and it looks like it's further away or behind the trees. I'm going to do just the same again, but this time I'm going to stamp the darker one at the side, put another little tree there, and then I want one bigger tree just up here. I'm just going to put it up a little bit higher. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more over there. Now you can see I've got a little line here, and what you can do is you can either get a little sponge dauber and rub that in, or you can get your stamp again and you can just fill in the little pieces like that. And you see how you can sort of just move the ink along a little bit. But honestly, I'm not really too worried. It's just a background. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so that will take just a minute or two to dry because I've got this washi tape on, and it dries a little bit slower on the washi tape than it does on the card. So while that's drying, what I'm doing next is I've got a little bit of soft suede card, and with the early espresso I've stamped this moose image and cut him out with the matching punch. And I actually did 2 pieces because this is going to be for the inside of my card. And I had a little piece of the scrap designer series paper and my little moose. I only glued his legs down, and that's going to go on the inside of my card. So let's put that one in. Just take that little lumpy piece of glue off there. And while I had that designer series paper out, I used a scrap piece and I just covered the back flap of my envelope. If you didn't want to use any more of the paper, you could stamp some of the trees or just the moose here. That would look pretty as well. Okay. And then I have a little bit more of the designer series paper that I cut. It's only 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to attach it onto here. Oh, just a minute, this is the wrong little piece. Let's just take this off and let's glue it onto the right piece. That was the other spare piece, not the piece that I'd already stamped. So, whoops. Let's pop this in here. And I'm just going to get my bone folder now and smooth that down. Now that we've got the right piece of card, let's put this on. So I want it to go just across, and I've actually cut it a little bit long at the moment. So I'm going to attach it first, and then I'll trim at the edge here. I'm not putting it right in the middle, I'm just putting it nearer to the top. It's just a little bit offset. Okay, and then I'll get my paper snips and we'll chop that little bit off the back. We don't need that little piece, so that can go in the bin. Okay, and then let's have a look. Let's see if our big piece is dry. Yeah. Let's take off these little pieces of washi tape. And because I stuck them on my arm and made them not quite so sticky, they're a little bit easier to peel off. And if you want to cut this out with one of the square dies, you can, but it's a really easy one just to cut out. So I'm just using a long bladed scissors and I'm just cutting around the edges. Now, the very edges of it always look a little bit white to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking that sponge dauber again. I'm not putting any more ink on, but I'm just going to go over the edges so that you can't see the white where I cut. There we go. Now you can't just see those little white edges, and I just think it looks a little bit better. Okay, now I'm going to attach this here. You can glue it straight down. I'm going to put dimensionals under mine, but I know that my card isn't going in the mail. Sometimes if you have dimensionals on as well, it might make the card just a little bit more difficult to post, or you end up having to pay extra postage. If you feel that you want to mail it and still want to have dimensionals, you can always fold the card inside like that so that that part is protected and it's not going to get caught up in any of the machinery at the mail sorting office. Okay, now I've got my little moose. I'm just going to glue him on and into the picture. doesn't need much glue. And I'm just going to find a part in the trees where it looks like he could be walking. You can, you know, just choose where you want it to go so that you have more of a background showing, or just depending on where you've stamped your trees. And I think it'd look pretty cute if you had a little bit of twine on here as well, so it looked almost like a picture hanging. And let's find my dimensionals. Let's get the big dimensionals. I've got a small pack out and that's not what I wanted. Oh, they're small as well. Oh, maybe I got the small ones out because I've forgotten where I've put the big ones. Here they go. Okay, so I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on the back. And this card, although I'm making it for our Christmas blog and video hop, it doesn't have to be a Christmas card at all. You could put a birthday sentiment on it. It would make a nice masculine card, even like a get well card. So, and I'm just going to put this, I'm not going to put it right in the middle. I want it to go at the left hand side. So I'm just making sure the border at the left and at the top is about the same. There. And there we are. That's my Christmas in August card. Don't forget to look at all the other ladies who have joined in with the video group. Their details will be at the bottom. Just click on them and you'll be able to see what everybody else has made for August as well. Thanks for watching me, and if it was your very first time joining me, thank you so much. It was lovely to have you here. I'll see you all again really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.